All right, well, it seemed like a really good idea at the time to wear this jacket, but it's quite warm in here. But there's a method to my madness. I recently went on a trip. I go regularly, I guess at least once a year, to the States. My wife works for a US-based company, so they have a conference every year. I work in the film industry. I went this year and I took some meetings, you know, did some Hollywood stuff, if you can call it that. And I've been in a job previous to that where I've traveled a lot. So I have a very high frequent flyer status because in my old job, I would do like 50 domestic flights a year, which is a lot. So I know how to travel. I also know how to pack. I know how to pack two ways. I know how to pack light for work travel to never check a bag, a la Up in the Air, George Clooney style. The scene, if you've seen that film where he's chucking out all the Anna Kendrick stuff in the airport, is hilarious and somewhat very true. I also know how to overpack, and this is what I do when I go on holidays like this, because I want every possible item, shoe, hat, possible. So I want to talk a little bit about my everyday carry essential items, whatever you want to call it, when I travel. Also, which watches I took and which watch stores I went to on this trip. Okay, so other than your passport, for me, one of the most important things is having everything I could possibly need on a flight. Because I'm not a nervous flyer, but I have OCD, and I'm pretty sure, although it's undiagnosed, a bit of ADHD. And there's just something about everything has to be right for me. Like everything has its place. I have to have everything with me. Otherwise, then I get anxious. So I always get on a plane with a backpack. And usually when I travel overseas, either a roll-on, or when I'm traveling overseas, I've got my backpack and usually a roll-on or a duffel bag. In this case, I had a duffel because I'd checked the roll-on. So I'd actually checked 2 bags. This is what I said. I know how to pack. You'll never get me doing a video where I'm like, I went to Europe for 2 weeks and I just took carry-on. Like, that is just, it's not me. I mean, I feel like that's a personal challenge that's been laid down, like gauntlet style, but I still don't know if I'd be able to achieve it. Also in Australia, 7 kilo maximum carry-on. So if you get weighed, it's going to get checked in, people. Anywho, I didn't recently discover them because I've had my Bellroy travel wallet, which I now use as like a daily wallet, notwithstanding my real wallet is my phone, which incidentally in America I could use a lot this time, and we'll get to that. But I've recently discovered Bellroy for like other items, and I've got this awesome backpack. But I use it every day when I'm going to work and things like that, because it's got like a compartment where your laptop goes and your cords and essential sort of charger options. You've got a little easy to access pocket, and then you have this massive pocket here which contains so much. And I love this bag. It works. My wife actually has one too. She loves it, but for some reason her straps are made out of a different kind of nylon here. And notwithstanding she uses the tabs like I do, the straps loosen without fail every time she wears this bag. So on this holiday, she was cursing that bag every time we were in an airport. So Bellroy, if by some weird chance you actually watch this video, please help her out. Fix her bag, send her a new one, something, because otherwise I don't want her to like go off your product, because I think it's the best product ever. I also travel with this, which is, as most of you would know, if you travel at all, it's kind of where you put your essential items when you're checking in, passport. I have a couple of pens in here because you always have to fill out pesky declaration forms when you're on the planes. I've got my frequent flyer cards, a couple of different airlines there. And, just those essential items. I have a Remarkable, so I carry some spare pen tips. And I carry just a few other essential items. USD, I always have some USD in here just because that tends to be the most frequented country other than here. I have a travel adapter of some description. I have ones that I use so I can still use my like hair straightener and things like that. They're always just in my bag. I don't really unpack them. I have a Kindle, which I actually didn't read on this trip, so it feels a bit disingenuous putting it in my everyday carry, but the reality is I always have it with me anyway. Now, I didn't read because I was sick and I was busy, and most of the time I was so jet lagged I just ran into bed. I don't have them with me because they're packed away until the next trip, but I have the Drip IV sachets, always some carry-on for the plane, for the long haul trip, so I don't get too dehydrated because I do drink wine. And Remarkable, which I mentioned earlier. I do a lot of note taking on here. I read PDF documents, but I also have an iPad, which I use a lot. I don't take notes with my iPad. I'll sign documents and do those kind of notations, but I don't generally note take. I find writing with this pen is actually really awkward and difficult. But this, on our last trip, we used a lot because we watched a lot of sport. So I had to use my VPN, NordVPN. This video is not sponsored, by the way. If anyone ever wants to sponsor me, feel free. But yeah, I use NordVPN so I could get into my KO account, which is like my sports streaming account here in Australia. So I could watch the Formula One in particular, but it was also the football finals for the NRL and the AFL. So Aussie Rules Footy and a form of rugby league. They both had their footy finals and grand final while we were away. And being sport mad, I had to watch them. Particularly because my team was in the finals for both. They got knocked out before the grand final, which I wasn't surprised with, but you know, it still hurts. But yeah, this was kind of a lifesaver because we managed to stream those, and then the Singapore Grand Prix and the Suzuka Japan Grand Prix, which hilarious for us because we're in Australia, right? So our time zone actually matches Singapore and Japan. Obviously not hour for hour, but the time difference was such that we would have been able to actually watch these races in the daytime on a Sunday afternoon. So we were like, yeah, of course, we'll be in America where it's on in the middle of the night and we can't watch it. So we watched it the following day on both trips, which was kind of fun because, I mean, I know one morning we're in our hotel and we had breakfast delivered and we watched the Singapore Grand Prix. While doing that, the person who delivered our breakfast was also a Formula One fan, so we had a chat with her, and it was kind of fun. I always travel. I had this for my last trip. It's a Tom Tok and it's a sling bag. I know they're all the rage. This I used a little bit on this trip, but I didn't go on many day trips or sort of adventure stuff, and when I was out and about, I literally just needed sort of this and my phone. So I just kind of took that. But I had a bit of asthma while I was away, so a couple of days I took this, and I have to take like a Ventolin and a spacer. It's a whole thing. So it's perfect, and also for water. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but we've got a nice little secret pocket here to stop pickpocketers. You can wear it a number of different ways because this sling kind of has a really good system where you can tighten it and loosen it really easily. And I've generally just found this to be a really cool bag. I actually got my wife into these sort of sling bags, if you will. I got her the Bellroy, which is also an awesome sling bag. I'm a little bit jealous of it because I think it's slightly more stylish, but I actually really like this bag. So I do that. Now, I'm getting to almost the most important thing, but in addition to what I'm wearing, which we'll talk about very shortly, I have 3 pairs of Air Jordans. They're my ones, OGs. They are the most comfortable shoes I own. I own a lot of sneakers. I have a thing about shoes. I'm wearing Birkenstocks right now. I also love those, took them with me. I took a handful of pairs of shoes. I love shoes. I don't love Louboutins or anything, but I love shoes. So I took 1 pair of Jordans. I had a lot of comments of them. I had a meeting with an agent in LA who actually commented on how he liked my shoes. So I was like, yeah, I'm winning. I bought this outfit in New York on Bleecker Street at Cuts. It's the only store they have. I don't know about you guys, but I get sucked into Instagram ads all the time. Cuts is one of them. I've been wanting to try on their t-shirts for a long time. I'm very much a casual dresser nowadays. In my business job, I used to get suits made and I used to wear them. I like an androgynous look. I guess you could call me a tomboy. Some people probably find that offensive from a label point of view, but I'm okay. It's all good with me. I like being a girl, but I like wearing slightly, androgynous clothes. And the reality is sometimes they just fit me better, particularly pants. Anyway, went into cuts because I could finally try their stuff on. I hadn't bought anything online yet. Turns out the t-shirts are no good for me. And the female version of their shirts, guys, they're rubbish. I mean, they're made for size 8 chicks and they come up to the midriff. And I'm like, I'm not wearing them. Make me a girl version of the boys' cuts shirts, please. There's got to be a market for that. I'm telling you. This here is their Concorde air travel tracksuit, as we call it, with their Aeroflight, I don't know, I guess it's, it feels like it's a made-up name and it probably is, but it's super, super comfortable. I bought it. Now the jacket is very cool. It's got secret pockets on the inside because it's made for travel, right? So it was perfect. I wore this jacket without the bottoms because my wife would kill me if I went out in public other than to fly in tracksuit pants. Anyway, I'm like, but they're dressy tracksuit pants. She's like, there's no such thing. Anywho. But this I could wear out. So I wore this out in New York a lot. And I was worried in New York about getting basically mugged because everyone had told me that New York's not as safe as it used to be, yada, yada, yada. I was like, what watches am I going to take to the States? Because I was told that LA is not safe, New York's not safe, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I threw caution to the wind and I was like, well, go hard or go home, they say. I took my Rolex Submariner and my Panerai Luminor 422, which is my 47mm. So people were going to see me coming. I also did take my Luminox for the gym and any kind of activity, which, as I said in another video, I was sick before I left, which triggered my asthma. So I didn't do a lot of high intensity activity, unfortunately. So I didn't get a lot of wear. Also didn't get a chance to go swimming. So again, didn't get a lot of wear. But I wore these watches every day. I wore my I thought the Submariner was a fantastic watch to travel with. It's super easy to wear. It's the perfect size. It's a steel sports watch. It was doing what it was meant to do. And it got a lot of wear. And I loved that I could swap it out and go big with my Panerai. They both had an excellent time on this holiday, as did I. The sub I took actually at the recommendation of my mate Tony. And I got to meet Tony Gamble from Talking Timepieces with Tony when I went to LA. My wife and I had lunch with him. We went to go to Binti Jewelers with him, which is his Rolex AD in Glendale. We got to meet Juan, and it was a really great afternoon. And I'm so happy that we got to meet. I took him the Moonswatch that I'd bought him here in Sydney because he can't get it over there. He then told me, ironically, he'd had 2 offers from people to bring him a Moonswatch, I think within the 2 weeks that I was coming to visit. So, the universe always works in very mysterious ways. But absolute delight. I'm so glad I got to meet Tony face to face. We've talked online, we've chatted on the podcast, but nothing kind of beats that in real life human interaction, right? So I'm really glad we got to do that. Thanks, Tony. Tony also gave us a like a little gift bag, which was so cute. We got Warner Brothers hats. I should have bought them actually. He gave us some pins that he's made for his channel, which are very cute. I think it was it's here somewhere. Sorry, I should have had it out, but it's a little comic book again from Warner Brothers because he lives literally over the road from the studio, which was also very cool. Yeah, so that was super fun. But yeah, he said to me, bring your sub. He wanted my wife to bring her JLC Reverso, so she did that. Although I'm going to admit on behalf of her that while she said that was fun to travel with, she thought that wasn't a great travel watch. She actually wanted to bring a Rolex Yachtmaster, and she kind of lamented the fact she hadn't for nearly the whole trip. So she'll be taking that next time we go on a trip for sure. She also, I think, she packed her she packed her Seamaster and her Breitling Endurance Pro, which of course I was very jealous about. You've seen my video on that. But yeah, so I threw caution to the wind when I was in New York, particularly on the subway. I would either, because it was cool, unusually cool, I'd pull my sleeve down to hide it. It rained a lot while we were there, so we had to go to Rains and buy a couple of raincoats. An excuse to go shopping. Hello. So I would throw that, or if I had a jumper on or a sweater or whatever you guys want to call it, I took it off because the subways are so hot. I'd kind of just drape that over my arm. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I was trying to be a smart traveler. A really smart traveler would wear any of this to travel, I suspect. But I still wanted to have some fun and enjoy the watches. That's the whole point of having them. So I just tried not to flaunt it too much. Now that would be a lot more difficult had it been a sweltering September, which is what I'm used to in New York. And indeed, I probably would have worn my Luminox in the daytime on my own when I was out and about doing touristy things, I think. But I didn't, and I survived, other than catching COVID, but that's a different issue. And my wife was like, now just remember, if you do get mugged, we can get another watch. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind that I'm like, take the watch, and like we would just run. But, you know, I think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, has anyone had an unfortunate experience traveling? I know it could be very hit and miss. I know it can just be luck. Okay, I'm gonna, because there's a running joke in our house that if my wife's not with me and we're traveling, I quite literally could get away with doing nothing all day. Like I'll want to do so many things on my list that I'll do nothing. I think that is an ADHD thing, by the way. So my wife's the planner, so she'll organise our day and we'll actually end up doing quite a bit. She was working one day, so she went to her office, and I'm having breakfast at Chelsea Market, and she's texting me. And she's like, what are you going to do today? I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then she like laughs and she goes, oh, you're going to end up doing nothing. And I was like, oh no, that's it. I have to do something. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the Panerai store, the new one on Madison Avenue, the flagship store. So I got out my phone, which I'm talking to you on, so I can't, but got on Google Maps and I worked out which, subway I had to do. And I was, guys, I was so proud of myself because I worked that shit out. I mean, I used to think I was really good geographically speaking, but I'm hopeless. Particularly in New York, for some reason, last couple of times we've been, I'd always go to get on the downtown subway train when we were going uptown, like just couldn't get that shit right. So proud. I got to Madison Ave. I got to the store, beautiful by the way, and it's, sandwiched between your Gucci's and all these other high-end stores. A. Lange Cern is just on the opposite corner over the road. It's lovely. They were really sweet in the store. One thing I noticed in particular in America, I didn't go watch shopping in Denver, but in LA, I went to some watch shops. In New York, I went to a few, and none of which asked me whether I had an appointment. I was buzzed straight in. I was served. I was, greeted, including at a Rolex boutiques. None of this bullshit about do you have an appointment. So I'm just saying, went into the Panerai store. This lady served me. I can't remember her name, which makes me feel really bad. I've got her card somewhere. And tried on a whole heap of watches, including the boutique exclusive. There's only 212 of these. I actually can't remember why. There was a reason that related to New York. I'm going to have to look that up and report back. But the boutique exclusive was a titanium 44 mil. It was a really nice watch. I probably wouldn't buy that one. In fact, I want to get this year's Radiomere in the blue. I think it's beautiful. And I love that brushed sort of antique looking case that they've got going on. But this, the boutique exclusive was awesome. She said people are flying in from around the country to buy it. So they do have a few left. They had a museum, like when I say museum, like some cases set up with like all these classic Panerais that, you know, you can't see anywhere. Including, you know, stuff that you'd see Arnold Schwarzenegger wearing, but like on his wrist, like years and years ago. Those, like, I'll put some photos up because I was in the store and I was like, I didn't take any videos other than a quick video of the boutique exclusive. I'll pop that up, and I took a few photos. But yeah, the store is beautiful. If you're in New York, go to the store. It's lovely. Can we please get one like that in Sydney? That'd be great. I also went to a Panerai in Hudson Yards at a brand new, I guess it's a shopping mall in I think it was in either an apartment building or like a commercial building, or maybe it was both. Kind of, it's on the High Line. Looked really cool. So the Panerai store in there was much smaller, not as fancy as the flagship, obviously, but great service. Had a great time in there as well. I mean, so obviously I went to Bindi's in LA, and that was great. So one, just, you know, let us try on everything. They didn't have a lot of watches at that point in time because they were literally swapping from the store they were in to their brand new kind of flagship store just over the concourse from them, which was going to open later that week. So it was a bit of a bummer that we missed that. But it was super fun. One was awesome. Hopefully get a watch off him soon. Denver was the funniest find though. So Denver is a city. I'm wearing my Broncos t-shirt because I went on the Mile High Stadium tour, I should say, which was great. Took me 3 days to realize the altitude was different, and that's why I felt horrible and couldn't breathe, because I'd had asthma for like 3 weeks, so I kind of just thought it was that. But no, it was the altitude that was killing me. We went to Boulder. Beautiful, beautiful town. And it was Saturday and they had their markets, and so we're wandering through the markets and we get to this stall and I'm like, those watches look familiar. And we went over and we're having a chat, and they're like, oh yeah, we take really old pocket watches and we turn them into wristwatches. Like, so we service them and we do them up and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, it's Vortic watches. I've done a video on them, like in the micro brands. I was like, oh my God, it's so funny. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. They're also the Colorado Watch Company, which is kind of their newer brand. They're starting to branch out. But I got hands-on with these watches. And again, like I only took photos. I didn't want to be that person because I wasn't there doing that kind of work. I really should get better at that. I know, next time. But these watches, I mean, they were 4,000. Some of them were like 4,000 US. So $7,000 Australian or something. So expensive, but great. Man, were they great. They just had such class and character to them that I was like, oh, yeah, these are awesome. I didn't buy one, but it'd be nice to have one of those one day for the collection for sure. They just had such character about them. But I'm so glad I found them and saw them. And Boulder, like I said, that is the town for me, people. Sans the altitude, but they understand I'm a celiac, so I can't eat gluten, so they were all over that. In fact, most of America that we went to this time were all over that, so I found eating a lot easier. I still can't do cheap and cheerful food, which is sad, but yeah, they were all over cross-contamination and gluten-free. But Boulder and Denver, I had some of the best gluten-free pizza. Like, I can't eat pizza anymore, even if it's gluten-free base, because it's cross-contaminated. They made their own gluten-free base, separate oven, amazing. Beer. Now, there is gluten-free beer here. There's like 3 decent brands, but I got to have gluten-free beer at a brewery in Boulder on tap, or as the Americans call it, draft beer. It's great. So excited. It's the small things in life. But yeah, I mean, that was America. It was very expensive. The dollar here is rubbish. It's about 64 US cents at face value, so it's even less by the time you convert it, you pay the fees and all that. Inflation has driven the cost of things up there, just like here, but it's even worse. Like we were having steak in restaurants, and sure, they were like steak fancy restaurants, I guess, but I wouldn't call it fine dining. And the steaks were like 85, 90 US. That was just the steak. Yeah, it wasn't cheap. I got to have gluten-free pancakes, well, 3 times, but 2 different places. Again, in Boulder, there was a cafe in Boulder that did a lot of their stuff gluten-free and proper gluten-free, so not cross-contaminated. And then in the Chelsea market, there was Friedman's, who specialised in gluten-free food. So I'd only realised that nearly everything on their menu could be done gluten-free the last day we were there. So I was a bit shattered by that, because they had fried chicken and waffles, which I didn't get to have. I mean, who needs to have that for breakfast? I know, but so I had a couple of days. I had the avo and toast with poached eggs, which made me feel like we were home, so that was nice. And then on the last morning, I had the pancakes, and they were extraordinary. I mean, I've put on a few kilos with being sick and then traveling and eating all that stuff. And of course, they have such good junk food over there. I was like eating lollies and Cheetos. So I'm back on the healthy eating kick as of this week. But yeah, it was still a great trip. But yeah, that's my everyday carry when I travel. It's kind of a lot, but not a lot. I actually forgot my headphones, but they're a given. Yeah, but I was glad I took the watches I really wanted to wear. Last couple of trips, I've taken other watches, and I've missed, in particular, I always miss my Panerai. So I risked it. The risk paid off, so I got the reward. But you still have to be careful, I think, is the main takeaway from that. You can't be taking that shit out and about and waving your wrist around. I mean, you know, not everyone out there is as fortunate as us to have these watches, so it's inevitable. So I think just be careful. So glad I got to go to Cuts and try this stuff on. I bought some other joggers, which have become fabulous travel pants, or they're probably going to be great for set too, you know. But yeah, no to the t-shirts until you make a proper female version of the male t-shirts you have, guys. Come on. Until next time, I know we're a little off track with this, but stick with me. I'm just having some fun. Have a great week. Thanks, guys.